Cool. Okay. Hi, Byron. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you, Vicky? Nice to see
Good.
you.
Yeah, lovely to have you online today, and I'm excited to hear a bit about what you're going to be offering to sailors and stuff. But before we kind of get going, just give us a bit of an idea of your background in sailing.
Right, I'd love to. My background in sailing started in Cape Town, South Africa. I did a couple of sailing courses. Started doing deliveries up and down the east coast of South Africa, charter work, and then ended up back in Cape Town. Did more sailing courses, got my yacht masters. Did some charter work around there, and then I started to do deliveries across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. Did a few of those and became skipper. And then I started to actually go to the east. So I go sail all the way to Indonesia, I'd go to Malaysia, ended up in Thailand, did some sailing instructing over there, and yeah, then ended up coming down to New Zealand where it was, I decided this is the place that I fell in love with, and I wanted to just kind of do sailing recreationally, not so much as a career anymore. So spent 12 years doing it as a career and like 5 years of recreational sailing.
Oh, excellent. And you're now in Opua, based up in Opua.
Yes, the beautiful Bay of Islands.
Yeah,
It's
excellent. It's a great spot, isn't it? And lovely
lovely. Yeah,
place for
yeah.
some sailing and cruising. So tell us a bit about your business and what you're able to offer people that are heading offshore and wanting some extra support.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I've gone through the same struggles that a lot of sailors go through in the preparation phase and at sea. And so having to learn the ins and outs of what the mechanics of what makes really good voyages, I started to learn that there's more subtle skills involved in having a good vibe on board, a good energy, and making a pleasant and or not non-pleasant experience really comes down to the communication style, the self-awareness, the way that we actually look at the world, our worldview through our mindset, right? And so mindset became an object of focus for me. And I started to realize that when you make a shift in the mindset, you can actually create your experience the way that you like it to be, instead of just going out there and hoping for the best. And so in this, astronauts have to prepare themselves mentally for going to space. And the closest thing we get to going to space is being in the vast ocean. And so we can do some preparation too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We spend so much time kind of preparing our boat and provisioning and making sure we've got right sails and the engines working. But really, it does, this successful trip does come down to the relationships between the people on board the boat quite often, doesn't it? And you're right, the relationships that are developed along the way.
Yeah, it can often be a make or break is the relationship factor and how we speak to each other, how we communicate, and that's all filtered through our worldview and our mindset.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so how do you help sailors to be able to sort of get into that right mind space?
Right, so there's three methods that I'm concentrating on now, and it's kind of a package that I've put together for those that are going on the voyage of their lifetime. And so it's the one-on-one coaching. So I've been coaching a lot of cruising sailors sort of on my travels and voyages at sea. And so I'll just demystify coaching a little bit in a minute. But the other one is at sea support and passage planning. And so when I come to, we'll come back to those. But with the coaching, it's really that a coach can see things in a different way than we can see them. So when you're so involved in what you're doing, you oftentimes don't have the perspective to see and think clearly. And so with a coach, they're not emotionally involved in your situation. And so they have the objectivity which we may be lacking in our voyages because we've had a lot of things going through our mind in the preparation process. Been thinking of the weather, the boat. Is that okay? Is the crew okay? And so with a top-down view, I can kind of um, see it with new, fresh eyes. I like to think of it as if you're driving your car at nighttime, you got your headlights on. You just see what's in front of you. You don't actually see your surroundings. And so with this way, I can actually see the entire map, help you, and I can champion you through all of the obstacles you're going through, and just kind of build that courage, that confidence, and the self-esteem and that goes along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really cool. And I know, certainly some people before they go off on a passage, any passage. I mean, everyone has sort of a few butterflies in their stomach, don't they? But often, sort of that anxiety about going on an offshore trip holds people back from achieving their dreams. So, are there ways you think that you can help people manage that anxiety and potentially sort of take that extra step to go offshore?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the coaching call, we actually just really unpack what it is that's going on for you. And it's a safe space, and so you can really just speak about it all. And oftentimes it's just some kind of deep-seated fear of the unknown, or we get very excited about our dream of going sailing. And then right at the last minute, we this little thing clicks in our head. We're like, oh, we shouldn't do this. And what ifs, all the what ifs come up. And so those are the things that I like to address and unpack, because those are the obstacles that get in our way. And so you actually do have this, you've got it, you've done all the preparation, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of perspective shift. And so in these coaching calls, we just unpack that, we look at it, and I champion you along the way. And the other way is to do the at sea support. So once we've gone through the coaching and you're feeling confident and it's time to leave, done all your preparation work, sometimes having somebody to kind of validate your thought process, your decision-making process is really helpful. I know I never had that at sea, and there's a lot of things I just had to do and kind of hope that will be the best outcome. And so if I had somebody to just contact and go on demand, um, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Uh, what do you think about that? It would make me feel a lot more comfortable with that. And yeah, so it's a push to talk service. It's an application. You literally just push it, and we can have a chat about it and what's going on for you. Even if it's something like the fears or the anxieties about, whatever you're going through, and communication on board, the crew dynamics, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I like the sound of that. I think it sounds like a good support package. You're right, sometimes there's issues with crew not getting along, or the skipper kind of becoming a shouty ogre like the some of the racing skippers that I've sailed with in the past and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
how do you kind of work with people in that regard? If you think that you've got a skipper or a husband or a wife that's sort of maybe just going to cause friction? Are you able to sort of work with couples together to help them sort of talk about communication skills and things like that, or
Yeah.
that go?
Yeah, well, it's important to recognize the difference between coaching and therapy. And so I like to think of it as the line being mediocre. And so anything below the line is kind of like where you have where you need therapy, and there's just really things are not working out. And so couples therapy is really highly advised before people go sailing in these situations. Um, and then above the line is from like mediocre to thriving. And so that's the section that I like to work with. But having said that, I've gone through all of those struggles of having very difficult skippers. I had to overcome those things with communication styles and sort of, figuring that out. And so I can walk people through that process as well, and just kind of, give them some tips and guidance. And maybe I can even speak to the skipper and say, I'm seeing this from this perspective. I'm noticing this about you. I'm not attacking you, but let's just talk about this, one person to another. And because at the end of the day, the morale affects everybody on board. If so one person's not thriving, then everybody's affected. We're in such close quarters, you know. And so the reason we're going sailing is for enjoyment. So we got to just remember that. And if we want to have a good time, let's just get all this stuff right. Let's just work through the process, get the preparation phase. We want to be doing a lot of the coaching work so that you kind of avoid all of this stuff. And then the ATSI support is just keeping that level, that thriving level, all the way through the journey.
Yeah, that's cool. And obviously, I mean, you're a very experienced skipper and sailor, and you can help people with passage planning and sort of, I guess that's part of the whole mindset thing as well, isn't it? Understanding where you're heading to and what you're up to, and you've got a plan for the voyage ahead. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, passage planning, a lot of people can have a sort of a deer in the headlights moment when it comes to passage planning because we love to problem solve as humans. We like to think everything through thoroughly, which is extremely important with passage planning. But we can sometimes overthink the wrong things and then not actually capitalize on the right things. And so oftentimes it's just helpful to have somebody to guide you through this process, work with you. And again, that validation, that feedback of is this the right thing to be focusing on? Am I overwhelming myself and then causing doubts and fears in my mind through this process? And so the guidance through that passage planning is kind of like leads to the coaching and then leads to the ATSI support. And that's why I've kind of compiled it as a package. And it can be a huge relief if somebody helps you through this stuff from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. No, that sounds great. Is there anything else you'd like to add and let us know about what you're up to and yeah, anything else I can share with our community?
Yeah, sure thing. This has been a journey for me to kind of contribute to the cruising community. They've always been so good to me. And so I decided like what really resonates with me is adding value to this community in the best way. And so, there's m millions of ways you can get all of this information on the internet. You can do tons of research. But we've got a lot of things going on at the same time. We've got our passage planning, is our vessel okay? Is the crew okay? Is our route okay? Is the weather okay? And so all of these things can be a bit overwhelming at times. And so the assistance that I'm offering is to try to make this process as smooth as possible, just kind of getting rid of all of the stress out of it. So you can just enjoy sailing for what it is, rather than just having a head full of stress and confusion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds like a great service you're offering, and I look forward to sort of sharing that with all our members and followers, and hopefully sending some people your way for some extra help.
Yeah, I'd love to help.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you very much for joining us.
No worries. And yeah, you guys can find me. There'll be a link connected and just reach out and we could do like a discovery call, just get to know each other, see if in what way I can add value to the best according to your needs. And we can go from there.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much, Byron.
All right. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.